Running back really feels like a unique position, at least in the sense that even if someone has a lagging start, that doesn't mean that they can't come into their own and really become something special later down the line. And today, we're going to talk about a few guys who, throughout NFL history, has proven that point time and time again. A wise man once said, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." For NFL running backs, it can be thousands and thousands and thousands of steps until they actually grow into something special. Throughout history, we have been continuously reminded that it is never too late. So here are 10 NFL running backs who looked like busts only to become superstars.
20, breaks the tackle and down to the 8-yard line. Hurry. 15 seconds left.
Garrison Hearst. The Georgia product was selected 3rd overall by the Cardinals in 1993. Now, Hearst went on to have a career that justified him being such an early selection, but his best years certainly did not come in the desert. Hearst saw very little action over his first 2 seasons, as the backfield was led by the one-hit wonder Ronald Moore, who posted 1,018 yards in 93. Hearst finally showed signs of greatness when he hit 1,070 rushing yards in 95, but the Cardinals weren't convinced enough. Ahead of the 1996 season, the Cardinals wound up cutting Hearst. He then joined the Cincinnati Bengals, and the 1992 Doak Walker Award winner was unimpressive once again, with only 847 rushing yards and 0 rushing scores. The star-studded San Francisco 49ers then took a chance on Hearst in 1997, and it finally came together for him. Hearst hit the 1,000-yard mark and recorded 4 touchdowns in his first season on the West Coast. In 98, he had 1,570 rushing yards and 7 TDs. An ankle injury unfortunately caused Hearst to miss all of 1999 and 2000, but he regained his elite form in 2001 by recording 1,206 rushing yards. He fell just 28 yards shy of the 1,000-yard mark again in 2002, but the fact that Hearst was still playing at a high level following a career-threatening injury was special enough. From bust in Arizona to short-term superstar in San Fran, Hearst once again reminded everyone that it's not how you start, but rather how you finish. Derrick Henry. Despite his dominance at Alabama, Henry wasn't exactly what you call a highly touted prospect entering the 2016 draft. The Tennessee Titans used the number 45 selection in round 2 on Henry just several weeks after they acquired 2014 rushing champion DeMarco Murray in a cap-dumping move from the Philadelphia Eagles. Murray turned back the clock and tuned in another Pro Bowl season for the Titans, racking up 1,287 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns. His elite production meant little work for Henry, who had a mere 490 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns as a rookie. Henry and Murray split the workload in 2017, but neither of them really excelled. Henry himself had just 744 yards and 5 scores, averaging a meh 4.2 yards per carry. It was beginning to look like the former Alabama sensation would be a depth piece at best, but Murray's departure finally opened the door for Henry to go off in 2018. He became the centerpiece of the Tennessee offense, posting 1,059 yards and 12 touchdowns. Henry was just getting started though. He won his first rushing title in 2019 and led the Titans all the way to the AFC Championship game, where they fell to the Kansas City Chiefs. In 2020, he hit the 2,000-yard mark, recording 2,027 rushing yards and 17 touchdowns to claim a second straight rushing title. Henry was named the 2020 Offensive Player of the Year, and he likely would have won a 3rd straight rushing title if he didn't miss half of the 2021 season. But the bottom line is that after 2 merely average seasons, Henry finally broke out in 2018 en route to becoming the NFL's best running back of his era. Thomas Jones. You kids may not know this, but Jones is actually a proud member of the 10K Rushing Club. But if you go back to his first 3 professional seasons, all with the Cardinals by the way, it certainly didn't look like he'd amount to much in the NFL. Jones, who was drafted 7th overall by Arizona in 2000, accumulated just 1,264 yards and 9 rushing scores in 3 seasons with the Redbirds. He never rushed for more than 511 yards in a season. A 1-year stop with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2003 didn't really amount to much either, as Jones tallied only 627 rushing yards for 3 scores. Finally, though, he found his footing when the Chicago Bears signed him in 2004. Jones became a key piece of Chicago's offense, racking up over 900 rushing yards in each of his 3 years there. This included a 1,335-yard campaign in 2005 and a 1,210-yard season in 2006 that propelled Chicago to a Super Bowl 41 appearance, where they ended up falling to the Indianapolis Colts. Jones was then traded to the New York Jets in 2007, but his production didn't slow down in the slightest. Jones Jones had 28 total touchdowns while eclipsing the 1,000-yard mark in each of his 3 seasons with Gangrene, even helping them to a 2009 AFC Championship game appearance. Despite 3 lackluster years in Arizona, Jones managed 10,591 rushing yards and 68 touchdowns for his career. That right there is not bad at all. Ingram Jr. The New Orleans Saints traded up with the New England Patriots to land Ingram 28th overall in the Dream 2011 draft class. It was a hefty price for a running back, and for a few years, the trade really didn't seem worthwhile for NOLA. From 2011 to 2015, Ingram only hit the 900-yard mark once. He had under 700 rushing yards in 4 of those seasons as the Saints used the RB by committee approach. But as it turned out, Ingram needed nothing more than time to actually break out. And once he did, the Drew Brees-led offense reached a whole new level. Ingram broke out in 2016 by racking up 1,043 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns, proving that it was no fluke. He had a career year in 2017 with 1,124 yards and 12 touchdowns. And NOLA was a non-Minneapolis miracle away from reaching the NFC Championship game. Ingram and do-it-all all-star Alvin Kamara finally led New Orleans back to the conference championship in 2018, but they lost to the Los Angeles Rams in controversial fashion. Ingram signed with the Baltimore Ravens in 2019 and formed an explosive rushing offense alongside league MVP Lamar Jackson, racking up 1,018 yards and 10 touchdowns. Good thing the Saints stayed patient with Ingram because it certainly paid off in the end. Cedric Benson. If the Bears knew just how great the aforementioned Thomas Jones would turn out to be for them, perhaps they wouldn't have drafted the late Cedric Benson 4th overall in 2005. Benson didn't really get much of a chance to shine in the Windy City, with Jones leading the backfield. In 3 years with the Bears, Benson compiled only 1,593 total rushing yards and 10 touchdowns. Fortunately, Benson finally got his big break when the Bengals signed him in 2008. He took over as their new lead back and showed promise with 747 yards and 2 touchdowns. That, though, was just the start of Benson's rise to stardom. He crossed 1,000 yards in each of the next 3 years, recording 19 total touchdowns over that span. Benson also helped the Bengals to a surprise AFC North Division title in 2009, as well as a wildcard spot in 2011. Benson looked poised to finish the 2012 season as the Green Bay Packers lead back after a solid 5-game stint to open the year. But a Elise Frank injury unfortunately cut his final NFL season short. But in Benson's case, the journey to becoming a star running back was another example of better late than never. Ricky Williams. In some ways, it's unfair to label Williams as a bust in New Orleans. It's not his fault that Mike Ditka made the ill-fated call to deal away an entire year's worth of draft picks and then some just to move up and take Williams 5th overall in 1999. Not to mention that Williams had a pair of 1,000-yard seasons in New Orleans. But fair or not, the Saints needed long-term grade A production from Williams to justify the trade. And unfortunately, they didn't get it. Yes, he hit 1,245 rushing yards for them in 2001. Keep in mind, though, that he saw over 300 carries that year. So the initial numbers look good, but 3.8 yards per carry over 3 seasons in NOLA isn't exactly superstar material. However, Williams became the star that Ditka envisioned following a blockbuster trade to the Miami Dolphins in 2002. He won the rushing title in Miami that year, racking up 1,853 yards and 16 touchdowns. Williams also earned first-team All-Pro and Pro Bowl honors. Williams continued to shine in South Beach, turning in 1,000-yard seasons for Miami in 2003 and 2009. So, at least the Finns got some elite-level production out of the 1998 Heisman Trophy winner. Michael Turner. The San Diego Chargers already employed an all-time great running back in LaDainian Tomlinson, which meant there would never be room for Michael Turner to blossom as a star there. Turner was taken in the 5th round, 154th overall by the Chargers in 2004. He saw limited playing time behind LT and the crafty Darren Sproles, who competed with Turner for backup reps. Turner finally got his big moment when the Atlanta Falcons signed him in 2008 free agency. The new-look Atlanta offense also featured rookie Matt Ryan, who was selected 3rd overall in that year's draft. Turner instantly turned into a star for the Falcons, racking up 1,699 yards and 17 touchdowns, which earned him All-Pro and Pro Bowl nods. Turner had over 800 yards in each of his next 4 seasons, including a pair of 1,300-yard seasons in 2010 and 2011. Turner sits 2nd all-time in franchise rushing yards with 6,081 and 1st in rushing touchdowns with 60. Not bad for a guy who only had 1,257 yards and 6 rushing scores in his first 4 seasons with the Chargers. Ahman Green. The Seattle Seahawks drafted Ahman Green in the 3rd round, 76th overall in 1998. But of course, there was no leapfrogging 5-time Pro Bowler Ricky Watters on the depth chart. Watters surpassed 1,200 rushing yards in each of Green's 2 seasons with Seattle, meaning the latter was expendable. So in the 2000 offseason, the Seahawks sent Green to the Packers in what looked like a very minor transaction at the time. Green, though, finally found his game when he teamed up with the legendary Brett Favre in Lambeau. Green earned Pro Bowl nods in 4 straight years from 2001 to 04, exceeding 1,100 yards each time. In all, Green had 5 1,000-yard seasons as a Packer. He is the all-time Packers rushing leader with 8,322 yards. And only Jim Taylor has more rushing scores as a Packer than Green's 54. James Brooks. The Chargers used the number 24 pick on James Brooks in the 1981 NFL Draft, but they certainly did not get a good return on their investment. Brooks' rushing totals over his 3 years with the Bolts were 525, 430, and 516, in that order. After the 1983 season, the Chargers traded Brooks to the Bengals. It turned out to be a game-changer for a Cincy team that was just a few short pieces away from being a Super Bowl contender. Brooks became a 4-time Pro Bowler in Cincy, leading them to a Super Bowl 23 appearance against the San Francisco 49ers. The Bengals narrowly lost that game, but they simply didn't get that far in the first place without Brooks. Brooks retired as the Bengals' all-time rushing leader with 6,447 yards, though Corey Dillon eventually went on to surpass him. Charlie Garner. The Eagles drafted Garner with the number 42 selection back in 1994, but the Tennessee product simply wasn't suited for Ray Rhodes' squad. Garner never once hit 600 rushing yards over his 5 seasons with the Eagles, and he was held to under 400 in 3 of those years. Just when he looked destined to become a bust, Garner revived his career when he joined the 49ers in 1999. With the aforementioned Garrison Hearst injured, Garner took advantage of the opportunity and morphed into a star for San Fran. He had over 1,000 rushing yards in each of his 2 seasons there, earning Pro Bowl honors in 2000. Garner was also a rock for the Oakland Raiders, posting 839 rushing yards in 2001 and 962 in 2002, leading them to a Super Bowl 37 appearance that ended in a blowout loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But hey, 7,097 rushing yards and 39 touchdowns following 4 dismal years in Philly makes for a pretty good career if you ask me. But which current NFL busts do you think are poised to break out and become stars? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.